Today, we have quite an international panel with us, and it's really exciting for me. I was just telling my guests that for the first time in this Pioneer Talk Show series, we have people around my age. So it's going to be super exciting to just talk about sustainability and what these young, exciting, and enterprising pioneers are doing in their parts of the world about sustainability. But before we get into that, I'd just like to remind our audience that this is hashtag Find the Pioneer Talk Show series. And I've been your host, Jesse Forrester. And as always, it is a pleasure to have you here with me and to just keep pushing the message of sustainability out. The Zayed Sustainability Prize 2021 edition is open for applications. Make sure that you apply. You never know, you could just be that pioneer. So we've done all the four major thematic areas for the Zayed Sustainability Prize. And now we're going into my favorite one, because that's where I won, the Global High Schools category. So the topic of today's discussion is mobilizing a generation of pioneers. And my guest speakers today is on the bottom left is Toby Thorpe. He's from Hornville High School, Tasmania. He's a 2017 Global High Schools Oceania winner and the founder and director of the Climate Justice Initiative. My next guest is Mr. Harry Rostron. He is a member of Green School Bali and the 2017 Global High School winner for Asia. And last but certainly not least is Luisa Beserra. I hope I said that right or not. The UNEP Young Champion of the Earth from Brazil. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. It's awesome that you could just find the time. And yeah, let's kind of get into it. You could tell us a little bit more. We'll start with Toby about your interest in history, and sustainability, and your motivation for starting the Climate Justice Initiative. What is it?
Yeah, the history of me in sustainability definitely started in my endeavors with the Zayed Sustainability Prize around 5 to 6 years ago through my local high school where I was attending at the time. And honestly, it just started with a class project in science when my teachers asked if I'd be interested in supporting. And of course I was, because it's just such an incredible part of, the educational curriculum here at the moment. And obviously that led to us submitting a proposal to the Zayed Sustainability Prize, becoming a finalist, and then winning in 2017. And since then, the journey of sustainability, but also climate action, has taken me all around the world, and taken me into so many different industries, taken me to so many different boardrooms and meetings, and spoken to so many different people about the issues of sustainability. And that kind of takes me to why I founded the Climate Justice Initiative. And it's called the Climate Justice Initiative because since taking part in the Zayed Sustainability Prize and partaking in such a global forum in Abu Dhabi, it quickly made sense to me that the issues that we're trying to solve through the sustainability initiatives is more than just the environment, but the social inequalities that our societies present as well. And coming from a country like Australia, to really understand that social interconnection between the environmental issues that we're facing, but also the issues of access to water, energy access, poverty, inequalities, all these social injustice issues that there are also movements and people trying to solve as well. We can't move forward with the sustainability and climate action that we need without solving these inequalities as well. But to be able to communicate that and educate that and hear the stories of those on the front lines is really difficult in countries like Australia because we're so disconnected from the rest of the world. So that's why I started the Climate Justice Initiative, was from my history and interest in sustainability and recognizing the inequalities, but the interconnectedness between all these social justice issues and the stories that needed to be told. I thought that this was the best way to do that.
Awesome. I think I like how intersectional the problem is. It's not just about sustainability, but kind of links a little bit much larger towards a larger question about injustice and how we can leverage that. That's really cool that you started. And ladies and gentlemen, again, we have a full panel of winners today. And it's really exciting to just be a part of these three amazing individuals. And so our next guest, Ms. Luisa, you founded the startup Safe Drinking Water for All in 2015 when you were just 17 years old. Man. So what do you hope to achieve through this organization, and how has it impacted communities in Brazil since then?
Well, for me, when I was a kid, I always had a dream to become a scientist and to change the world, to create something that could really change the world. And when I was 17, I already had a project from when I was 15 to make the water cleaner by using the sunlight, mainly applicable to rural areas in Brazil, but can be applied also in the rest of the world. So I founded the startup to continue the developing of this technology when I was in college. And right now has been a long way since we first became the iStartup. We have a big team. We are impacting more than 1.5 thousand lives here in Brazil. And our plan for this year was to reach 5,000 people. But once the pandemic started, we need to shut down some operations in the field. And right now we are developing a technology to make it easier prevent coronavirus and other disease by washing hands in public areas.
That's really great, Anna. I think that starting at 17 and then even being at 15 and doing what you were doing, just it's kind of amazing. I don't really know what I was doing at 15 at the time, and it's quite exciting to just see how far you've come. And I hope that you will reach that 5,000 mark. And I know that the hand washing thing is what the World Health Organization has said is one of the best ways to prevent the coronavirus. So lots of great work you're doing in Brazil. And Harry, can you tell us a little bit about the concept behind the sustainability project that your high school, the Green School Bali, won the Zayed Sustainability Prize for, as well as some of your key learnings from this project?
Yes, so the project itself is called Operation Rain or Shine, otherwise known as OROS for short. The name encompasses the idea of generating renewable electricity in both the rainy season and the sunny season. The project has been through multiple phases and has modified itself over the years. The initial proposal was to create more battery storage for the school's renewable energy grids using upcycled old laptop batteries. However, after we started to test and experiment, we realized it was a little too dangerous to have chemical batteries around a school campus. And so we switched over to a pumped storage. This is an alternative type of battery. And then we started to think, and we asked ourselves, how can we make this technology more accessible to young people, and specifically students? And so the project became a construction project involving over 3/4 of the entire Green School community, involving parents, teachers, and especially students. All of the materials were locally sourced from Bali in Indonesia, and we worked with local contractors to help guide us through the project. There are 4 main sections of the build. There is the Energy Hub Dome, which contains monitoring equipment to track the grid and check the efficiency. There is the Media Lab, which has arguably the most soundproof walls in our wall-less campus, and 4K computers and filming equipment. There's also a project center, which is where the hands-on projects are coordinated. And then finally, a pumped storage amphitheater, which is like a tiered seating area where the 17,000 liters of water can be drained out to generate electricity downhill or for agricultural use across the campus. All aspects of the build are designed to enhance the quality of education. Going back to the question, some of the key takeaways for me was understanding how to think in systems. For example, one of the problems we faced was learning how to collect rainwater, and we realized that the vast roofing area could be used to funnel all the rainwater into the tanks. This connects all the structures together, and it truly makes the eHub a center for learning about renewable energy on campus. Also, having students design and brainstorm these ideas was crucial to the learning experience. I myself came out of that part of the project feeling much more confident about my aspirations in life, and it actually guided me towards my passion for architecture and design. hands down, the Oros project has been the single greatest learning experience of my life so far. And it wouldn't have happened if we hadn't submitted that first battery storage idea to the Zayed Sustainability Prize. It wasn't just me that worked on the design and building phase of the Energy Hub, and so I can safely say that many more students at Green School have also had an extremely positive learning experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can definitely see that I did not underplay the caliber of our panel today. I mean, these are young people who are pushing forward, their beliefs about sustainability and actually creating either a platform to talk about inequality or safe water or a whole plethora of different sustainability initiatives all meshed into one. And, it's quite interesting just being here because I myself also have sort of skin in the game because when I was at the African Leadership Academy in Johannesburg, South Africa, we were facing Day Zero in Cape Town. And we realized that Johannesburg had a similar problem. And as everyone here has said, there is a team effort that goes into it. I don't think I've had anyone say it was just me. It was just like a full team effort. And for us, it was the same thing when we built a living machine which filtered wastewater from our kitchen and had 1,000 liters of water a day. And we had the same sort of elements as Harry did in his team, where you had students have the design process and coming up to think about what that's going to look like, and even have posterity by having some students do it a little bit after. I think linking to Toby, in school we also talk a lot about inequality, and one of the biggest areas for our project was to make sure that we could build this in underprivileged communities like Soweto or Kibera here in Nairobi, because people like that, don't have access and pay 50 times the amount that people who have piped water do pay for. And I think, Anna, you're definitely on the money. I was watching a video recently and they were saying that water is the next gold or the next oil and is going to be one of the biggest commodities. So we need to figure out a way that we can produce more with equality and equity in mind and a sustainable sort of solution. So I really think that, having young people at the forefront is precisely what the Zayed Sustainability Prize stands for. We want to create a world where young people actually are involved in building the future that they want to see. And ladies and gentlemen, these three people here are doing just that. So I've got some questions for you, though, aside from the great stuff that you're doing. And it's more like about what you think, because your voice matters and it must be heard. My first question for you, and you can answer this in whichever order you'd like, is what, in your opinion, is the greatest challenge that your generation will face in the next 20 years when it comes to climate change? Let me just repeat that again. What, in your opinion, is the greatest challenge that your generation will face in the next 20 years when it comes to climate change? Any takers?
I don't mind going first.
Sure.
So for me, when I start thinking about this question, I start thinking about how the greatest challenge is understanding the timeline of change. And before we can start talking about future challenges and what we might see in the next 20 years, we really need to be thinking and overcoming the obstacles of today, because there's an extreme need for urgent action right now. And if we were to sit back and let it play out theoretically, then in the next 20 years, we'll face brand new challenges and the same challenges, but on a much more extreme scale. But if I was to answer the question, I'd say that the greatest challenge we'd face in the next 20 years is being able to bring people together, because collaboration is the key to moving forward in the future.
Wow. Okay, next. Yeah, Anna?
Yeah, it's great what Harry said. I completely agree with him. And talking about what I do, I think that one of the most challenging is water, to make water potable to everyone. We know that is already really is really difficult for some people in a specific country, specific area to have access to water, and they die when when they don't have it. And I guess we can go to a third world war because of water challenges, and we need to discover more technology to make more water accessible for more people. Exactly what you said, with more availability and in a equality way, so everyone can have access to clean water.
Yes, Toby.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge in the next 20 years is actually now, and it's getting started. And similar to what Harry said, you know, there is so much need for an urgency to these issues. And I think the biggest challenge for young people is getting started. And that's why the Zayed Sustainability Prize is such a pivotal part to the global inspiration and empowerment to young people, is it because it provides that framework and that platform to get young people started. And I've spoken to young people all around the world, and I think that this current generation is the most innovative generation to ever become. And that's because that we understand these issues of inequality and sustainability more than anyone else, because we have the most to lose, but also the most to gain from solving these issues. And for me as a young person, and thinking back 6 years ago, the hardest problem for me was just getting started, because once you get started, you can't stop. And I think that's why the Zayed Sustainability Prize is such an incredible thing.
So I hear collaboration. I hear, getting started, just do it. I hear Anna's talking about water being a very, very essential part of the future, right? And so I think before the pandemic, climate change was the biggest existential threat to humanity. And it still is, actually. And I agree with you. I think there needs to be a sort of coordinated approach when it comes down to making sure that, we as young people have a platform to talk, and we as young people actually doing things, right? Whether that's creating awareness, whether that's creating products and services, whether that's being the CEO of your own company and inspiring people, whether that's going through architecture school and learning how to build great buildings that focus on sustainability. Every single aspect of what every one of us does is important in driving the agenda forward if we keep sustainability in mind. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the call to action by the young people here, is that we need to come together, and we need to come together and build, because, as Harry put it, we need to build for now. Otherwise, in 20 years, things are going to be much, much worse with the same problems. And I think that's really, really important to have. So my second question for you guys is, more and more we're seeing young people across the world, like Leana Muregwa, Nina Golalinga, and Greta Thunberg, for instance, raise their voices and take action against climate change. Has this inspired you, and how? So I know, Toby, you actually are an organizer. You were one of the organizers for Fridays for Future. Could you maybe start with these questions?
Yeah, I think, seeing more and more young people take a stance, and a very strong stance on issues like climate change, is so inspiring, for me, but I think also for young people in general, because for so long, we've seen these issues being solved by adults, the voices of young people not being heard. And I think now when we see young people holding the fort and holding that space to say, what, young people can achieve incredible things. And when we look at people like Greta, you see that is possible, and it gives you a face to look up to. And I think now, wherever you are in this world, there is a young person leading the way, and it gives you hope and empowerment to say, I can be that person too. Because I think for far too long, there hasn't been that role model to look up to. And as an organizer at Fridays for Future, which of course is, such a prominent organization around the world at the moment, I think that is forever present, is that young people are realizing, what, we don't have to wait until we're an adult, or we don't have to wait till we finish university. We can use the skills that we have now to change the world.
Yeah, that's powerful. Anna, Harry. Do any of you have comments to add to what Toby said?
Okay.
Yeah, go. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree with Toby. But adding to that, I think a lot of people look up to these people, see them as heroes, and that's amazing. But there's also the fact that this is totally possible on a small scale, within small communities, just within a friend group. If you're starting to talk about these things, then you're already part of the movement. You're part of the motion, and you are part of the driving force that's pushing this forward. And it's really the small actions that can add up to make the most difference.
Succinct and well put, Harry. Anna.
Well, given my experience here in Brazil, is not quite usual to see young people taking action and doing something for sustainability. Right here, it's not as big as in some other countries. And once the Fridays for Future come live and everyone knows about it, they start a movement really exciting here for the young people, ex-school mainly. And I was thinking when I was in high school, I never know any young people who were doing something, and that's maybe the cause why I was the only one in my school doing something, because just I wanted to do. I wasn't. I had any other friend who were doing something because they don't have anyone to inspire. And right now we have so many inspiration, so many people doing something because they see young people doing and they want, and they are inspired by them. That's so cool. That's the way that I think that the world will change, and the young people will do amazing things from now on.
So I kind of lost you there, but I think from what I got from everyone is, it is super important for us to have more young advocates for sustainability. And I would just like to echo Harry's thoughts when he said that even if you're in your friend group and you're talking about this, you are making efforts and you are making changes. And some of the people I've mentioned, like Greta Thunberg and Nina Gwalinga, and Lea Namugera, right? These are people from all over the world. I think Lea is Ugandan, Nina is from South America, and Greta is from Europe. And you just see how different places are actually realizing how important this is. And, I think Toby said it, that we are the, most innovative generation because we have the most to lose and the most to gain, right? We are at that tipping point and we do need to come together. I think for me, being situated where I am in the developing world, I think for me, it's super important that just like Anna, we get people who are, not as equipped in a way to speak out for such things, to get moving. And even within my community and within, the greater African continent, I am passionate and completely enthralled. I think my friend and I, who worked on a project for the Living Machine, have now made it into a company. And so we're following in your footsteps, Anna, and we want to make sure that we can build more of these for people. And so that we can actually provide good services for them, right? And I think, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching and you're a young person, if you know young people, please do get involved. Tell them about what the Zayat Sustainability Prize is doing. And on a grand scale or a larger scale, tell them that they could be involved from just a single point of saying, well, just talk about it, tell someone about it or do something. Just get involved, as Toby said. So my last question, and then we'll go into the audience questions, is in the wake of COVID-19, we have seen economies crash, with millions of people worldwide now working and studying from home or losing their jobs and educational access completely. In your opinion, what role can young pioneers like yourselves take up to keep progress towards the SDGs moving along, considering the multifaceted challenges the world is facing today? That's a heavy question. I can't repeat it again. So in the wake of COVID-19, we've seen economies crashing. Millions of people are now working or studying from home and losing their jobs and access to education completely. In your opinion, what role can young pioneers like yourselves take up to keep progress towards the SDGs moving along, considering the multifaceted challenges the world is facing today? How can we keep moving towards the SDGs with everything going on? It's a big question for us. We'd like to start.
Yeah, I can start if you like.
Okay, we'll go Toby then Anna.
Yeah, I think the current situation of COVID-19, which has crashed economies, it continues to outline the inequalities in our society, but provides that perfect framework for us to reflect on our normal lives, because, to be honest, our normal lives is the reason that we have to solve these issues in the first place. And studying from home, working from home, changing our normal lives has helped us reflect on what is needed, what needs to be solved, what needs to be included. And I think, if we look at it in a hindsight, in sustainability, if economic crashes, food security, job loss, access to adequate healthcare, access to water, access to adequate income, that's all part of sustainability. That is sustainability, and the inequalities and these issues that are facing COVID-19 right now shows that. So I think as a young person, and to be a pioneer right now is to voice them issues, but also be innovative, think of what the solutions are, because now that we're reflecting on what our lives were before this pandemic, we now know what we need to change, and we now know where we need to be innovative to fix these issues. So that is what my take is on that question.
Thanks, Toby. Anna.
I will say exactly what Toby said, but what I can complement is, as a young person, you can, of course, create some solution, or create a movement to get people attention for the problems of your community, of your city, and of course, trying to solve the common problems of those who are most impacted by the coronavirus crisis. And of course, there is another organizations trying to find volunteers, trying to impact more people as possible, and you can join them. You can make your impact from this organization. Try to innovate inside this organization, and make the world a better place to live, mainly during this crisis.
Thanks, Anna. And Harry.
Yes, so I think generally people are spending a little more time online if they can, which opens up opportunities for platforms and pioneers that are particularly young pioneers to reach more people globally. And although COVID-19 is a global crisis, there are undeniable patterns associated with the climate. We are in the midst of the largest carbon output drop in recorded history. For example, there are fewer planes in the sky, there are less cars on the road. So personally, I think that the best thing we can do right now is to learn from the situation we're in, strengthen new and better habits, and try not to fall back straight away into our old ways. Another thing is that people with a little bit of extra time on their hands at home, they can be a little bit more conscious of their actions, develop good habits. Just a few examples would be composting, learning how to grow your own vegetables, even taking shorter showers. I know that sounds a little cliche, but it might be the best opportunity that we have for most people to begin developing those good habits.
That comes really full circle. I guess, starting where you are and also joining these organizations and being a voice for sustainability and advocating for those solutions. I think that's really, really powerful. And so speaking of having a platform and having an opportunity for young people to engage, this question is for Toby and Harry. As previous winners of the ZAD Sustainability Prize, can you give some advice to young people watching this today on why they should apply to the Global High Schools category or nominate others for the prize? What are the benefits of winning, both for themselves, their schools, and the wider community? So it's between you, gents. Whoever wants to go first, please, feel free.
Sure. So I feel as though there's always something that high schools can do to be more environmentally conscious. Green School itself, the school that I go to, has numerous ways to improve, and together as a community, we're exploring those. The important thing is giving students the freedom to discover, giving young people the space to learn, to find out how they can improve their school or their communities, and in turn make the world more sustainable. The Zayed Sustainability Prize has been the driving force behind Operation Rain or Shine, and therefore has not only inspired me, but also the Green School community. it has also provided an incredible learning opportunity that otherwise wouldn't have been available to me and my peers, as well as the entire school. I would highly encourage any young pioneer considering to apply to do so. No matter how big or small you think your idea is, apply, because it truly matters. From my own experience, even a little project converting laptop batteries can become something a lot greater than you can ever imagine.
Toby.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to counteract your question a bit, because I think the benefit is not winning, but I think the benefit is just applying. Because for me, starting off in a high school, this is how I started, was an application to the Zayed Sustainability Prize. And I think the application process in itself provides a framework to change your mind and to be a pioneer yourself. So I would counteract and say, actually, the benefits are just applying and taking that first step. But if you're, a young person considering applying or know someone that should, do it, because it takes you on an adventure that you don't think is possible. And I think Harry would agree that the adventure since winning the Zayed Sustainability Prize has been something we never expected. But also it's been such a huge collaborative effort between our school communities that we've never seen before. And at least for me, we've never seen that at my school before, where a community has come together to change at a local level. And I think that's so inspiring. And every young person has the power to do that by just applying and thinking about how they would make their school more sustainable, because out of every idea, something is possible, even if you don't win the Zayed Sustainability Prize.
Okay. That's a message, folks. Just apply. It says, what's the quote? That the journey is more important than the destination, I think. Not trying to be cliche, but definitely something there. And yeah, I think in my experience as well, winning the Zayed Sustainability Prize has been amazing. I think the opportunities just presented to me as a young person. I'm 21, by the way. I know I look like 30, but it's kind of like been super exciting for me to get to where I need to go, and also have a platform where people can look to me and say, you did it. You're an ordinary guy, and we can do it too, right? So I'd just like to get into a few questions. I know we're a little bit over time, but the audience has some questions for you, young pioneers. So I'll start with Dalal. So she asks questions to the speakers. What is a call to action message that you'd like to share, especially as it pertains to the global current situation? What is your call to action? Take a few seconds to think about it.
Yeah.
What do you want people to do? What's your message to them? What is your call to action?
I think
Again,
for me, my call to action is just to act now, and that comes in so many different ways. That could be changing the way that you recycle, or thinking about, like Harry said, how long you have a shower for. Acting now in your own way can contribute to a huge difference in our society. But also acting now to say, use your voice, start that conversation, and start thinking about other innovative ways to do things, because there's always another way. So I think for me, my call to action is just to act now in your own individual efforts.
So that's act now in your own individual efforts.
For me, it would be think and do it. Think what you can do, what skills do you have, what contribution can you do for your community or the world, and make it. Act now. Exactly as Toby.
Yeah. 2 act nows, ladies and gentlemen. Harry.
I think both Toby and Anna have presented it very well. But I'd also like to add that if you're in high school or college, a school or campus is a very good platform in itself to start doing either really small projects within a small group of friends or individual projects. It doesn't have to be something that starts big. It can be something that starts very small. So act now for the 3rd time.
Act now. So ladies and gentlemen, act now. That is a call to action. Just get started. I'm going to take 2 quick questions, and I just want you guys to summarize your answers as much as you can. So I'll take one from Faisal. So Faisal asks a question specifically for you, Anna. So you established your enterprise at 17, which he says is very inspirational, which I also agree with. The question is, how did you get your idea, or what really inspired you to develop this life-changing social environmental solution? How do you begin to act now?
As a kid, I always played to be a scientist, to play discovering disease medications, and my dream was to become a scientist and create something really big to impact the world, to solve a really big problem. And when I saw a paper at school calling for the young scientists here in Brazil, a prize here in Brazil, and it was about water because it was 2013, the International Year for Water Cooperation. And I said, that's it. Here in Brazil, I know that we have a really big problem with water, and I can solve it by develop something that can be really easy because I already knew that there were already so many solutions, but they wasn't viable for this specific place. There is so distance, and people couldn't even buy a technology so expensive as those that are available. And then I tried to find a solution that could be really simple and could make it possible those people have access to clean water for lots of years without needing any assistance. And that's when I started to create Aqualus, a technology that is the first technology of my startup. So Aqualus was born in 2013, and SDW, Safe Drinking Water for All, was born in 2015. And I guess it was really to have opportunity as the Zayed Sustainability Prize. It's the way that young people can be inspired and do something. And that was how I started. And I guess most people are going to apply to create a project to apply the Zayed Sustainability Prize and be amazing about what they can do for the world.
Exactly. And so my last question is from Nino Shah, if I said that right, Nino. What would your message be? So this goes to all of you, and I would like you to say it in one sentence. No, actually, sorry, let me go back on that. I'd like you to just explain a little bit on what are your next steps? So what are your stepping stones into the sustainability field? What is it from now? How are you progressing? What does the future look like for yourselves?
I can go?
Go ahead. Yeah.
So after I graduate high school, I plan to move to the UK and start an architecture course at university. I hope to move towards being able to design buildings and learn more about how buildings can be more sustainable, not just building them out of plants and different materials, but also learning how airflow works and learning how to create buildings that work in systems inside a city or in different villages, and just really understanding how we can build and make the world a better place.
Thanks, Harry. Super important work, I think.
For me, as already graduating in biotechnology here in Brazil, I want to expand. Thank you. I want to expand my startup to other countries. We have a plan to go to countries in Africa and Asia too, and also create more technology. As we know, Aqualus solves just one problem with water and sanitation. There is so many what that we need to solve, and we want to build as many technology as it's needed to solve every problem of water and sanitation of the world.
Thank you, Anna. Finally, Toby.
Yeah, for me, especially with the climate justice initiative at the moment, the next year or so looks for me is supporting the stories of climate justice around the world to be told. And primarily that comes in the form at the moment is that we're currently filming a documentary to lift the voices of those feeling the effects of climate change, but also being the most innovative people to the local initiatives and solutions to climate change as well. So for me right now, it's a big focus on how do we tell these stories and how do these stories inspire action at a greater level.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, it's really inspiring. And for me, it's just amazing to be here and just have this conversation with you guys and just kind of see what other young people are doing. To cap it off, my sort of next steps, I'm starting 3 businesses. So I'm kind of like, yeah, I know, I'm crazy. But as you guys said, you know, we need to start now. And one of them is related to the living machine that I applied for with the ZAD Sustainability Prize. And, you know, we never know, Harry, we might be working together because we're also looking at creating green, sustainable buildings for the next future, right? So that's kind of where we're looking at with my co-founder who also helped me with the ZAD Sustainability Prize application. So I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. I know there are more questions here. Please feel free to, I don't know if you guys would like, if people could direct message you or ask you questions personally. Okay, I see heads nodding. So please, definitely, ladies and gentlemen, we will have our social medias put up, and feel free to ask these questions and to engage these young pioneers. And as always, you know, we're #finding the pioneer, #find the pioneer, done by the ZAD Sustainability Prize. If you have a pioneer in mind, and as you heard, it can be something small within your community, it could be something large that impacts the world. Whatever it is and whatever you're doing, the ZAD Sustainability Prize is the platform that's going to give you that opportunity to #be the pioneer. So let us #find that pioneer. You know, lots of hashtags. So please send an email about the pioneer to info@zydsustainabilityprize.com with information about the pioneer. And again, you never know, you just might be that pioneer. So thank you so much for being with me. As always, I am your host, Jesse Forrester, and we'll be back again on Thursday with more and interesting, exciting guests. For me and from everyone here, have a great morning, afternoon, evening, and night, wherever you are in the world, and stay safe. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.